So on the other end of the local part, one of the things I've seen, and there's been a little bit of push on it, not as much as we'd hoped, but if you look in the way healthcare has moved from acute to chronic management, one of the areas where in that chronic management, it's almost entirely managed by medications. We haven't seen pharmacists take on a big role in, working with doctors to say, you do the diagnosis, I'll do the management of the medications, dose optimizations, manage side effects, things like that. Those are the things that were kind of being pushed when I was coming out of pharmacy school in 2008. And we're starting to see a little bit, but not a ton. Where do you think the next push on that's going to be?
I think it's the greatest untapped potential. One of my worries is that the actors on the other side are becoming increasingly operated by CFOs and not MDs or health professionals. So setting that aside for another podcast conversation at some point in the future, assuming that the opportunity to really work 1 + 1 = 5 exists, from just a software perspective, if I might, is I think there's 4 critical components. And 3 of those 4 components have been built out now. So let me run you through a quick history of at least the world as I see it in the last 20 years on the pharmacy and medical technology front. So the first sets of electronic adoption on the medical side were what? They weren't EMRs. They were practice management systems. Why? Because you had small businesses that needed to schedule people, know what their insurance was, and be able to bill for it. You're just managing, it's revenue cycle management, scheduling, those types of things, just like any other business. Those were the first electronic features in medical side. Then what happened was this whole population health movement, this how do we get better care, how do we use data, and the evolution of computing and software, and then we got into the EMR. All right, so now we have a practice management system bolted on top of an EMR, or vice versa, right? And it's semi-functional, semi-interoperable, right? And all that money that's been spent. Now, the history of the pharmacy side is, hey, in the 80s, we got to stop writing things down and sending bills in, right? So we're going to create NCPDP, we're going to create these quick ways of adjudicating, and plus we're doing inventory turns. We're not a service marketplace like medical, so we have to manage this in and out of reimbursement much more quickly. So our industry starts getting into that, which then sort of starts to create the model of the pharmacy management system, right? Which is inventory, billing, running the claim, and then we kind of layer on drug utilization view and some sort of just make us feel good clinical stuff when that's really not what they're there for, right? You guys know that. That's all. Yeah. It's all nice to do that clinical stuff, but what I really need, right? You've been doing that for years. Now, kudos to Pioneer. You were the first one in and you've been rocking it. We got to get vitals and labs and get clinical in there, right? Because if we can talk about the primary care pharmacy all day long, but am I really going to say I'm managing diabetes and hypertension if I can't do that in a structured way and demonstrate that and so on and so forth? So you guys really honestly, I felt like led the way. And then we've got, 18 technology providers now that kind of built that clinical with the management system. So now what you've got a situation, Josh, to your question, where how am I meaningfully interacting with another care team member when we're not both on Epic, right? But really, I have to work with them literally because they're the one billing for the service instead of me. Or where likely what's going to evolve from a policy perspective is I can produce a service, but I've got to put that prescriber's care compact or whatever else in there. I have to somehow interact with those folks. And so I've got practice management system, EMR, I've got pharmacy management system, but what's the big final missing piece in pharmacy? Now that we got clinical in basically the EMR with the throughput on the product. What's the pharmacy management system for scheduling, revenue cycle management, triggering all scripts to go send that CCM code and putting the information that they need to go bill for it? It's that bridge between me and you and how we interact with each other from, hey, I got people here that need something. Can we do a telehealth local? Hey, how am I scheduling people with COVID testing? I'm seeing scheduling utilities all of a sudden. Oh, well, wait, if I use that, I can think of all sorts of other things I do in an appointment-based model. And so to me, that's the final piece to actually do care team member to care team member, is we haven't had a service-based practice management system in the pharmacy where we can now interact as a service provider with another service provider.
Is that an HIE? Is that I don't. You guys are all smarter than me, and so is that what that is, or is that something else? Is that some other type of interoperability engine? What is that?
I mean, crazy enough, scheduling in a pharmacy management system doesn't exist yet. I say
Right.
yet because we're working on that. But it's crazy. Pharmacy's always been an on-demand kind of thing, and so it's 2020, and we're now building in, hey, I need to schedule an appointment with the patient. Then we need to be able to share that.
Yeah,
right?
people have been scheduling. I mean,
Right.
the people in the Joe Moose in the world, they've been scheduling. They've just been doing it outside. They've been doing Outlook.
Or they've been doing it on Post-it notes, sitting. Yeah, it's
right.
just.
But you
Calendar
certainly
on the
don't
wall.
have the things, the text message that reminds you of your appointment and that kind of stuff unless you're using some outside piece.
But what happens now when you can schedule interactions virtual or in person in concert with other care team members? Now you're cooking with gas.
No doubt.
That's population management, folks.
Right.
And the whole I'm here. So there's going to be 5 years from now, there's going to be thousands and thousands of communities in the country, if we're successful together as a group. That's a big if, but if we're successful, there's going to be thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of communities where the only doctoral degree in town will be the pharmacist.